Hello, welcome to my channel and welcome to my website. My name is Daryl and this is Programming in Any Language. The website is www.black-duck.com. It's where you'll find all my videos organized in logical order. You can begin with the basics and then move on to advanced concepts. You can also start with the speed track and build an application from scratch, which should pique your curiosity with a desire to learn more. This time we're going to finish rock, paper, scissors. This is the programming piece. We'll also use the debugger here to follow how the methods are passing data from one to another. There's even one method in this that will use the passing by reference technique. I also want to mention the fact that we'll be using a hierarchy chart to help us code this program. The hierarchy chart functions as a checklist. Basically, it is a series of buttons at the top of the page followed by all the methods that these buttons will call. And they're in order. This is a classic in breaking complicated things down into smaller, easier to understand functions. The thing about hierarchy charts is that if you have a method that is somewhat complicated, you have the option to flowchart it. On the other hand, if the method is complicated, it just might be that you need to break it down into smaller methods. Now, let's code this thing so we can see how methods and the hierarchy chart work. Okay, we're ready to program rock, paper, scissors. Well, we've got our form designed. All the components are labeled and named, and so we're set to go. So let's take a look at this thing. First thing I want to do is I want to take a look at the code. First of all, see what I've got out there, and if I actually look at it in my System Explorer, you can see nothing's out there. First order of business, in fact, let's get rid of the toolbox. Give ourselves more room here. Let's go to our designer. And the first thing we're going to code is the exit button. So double click on that, which has been named, I hope. It is not. We're going to name this button exit. And we're going to check the reset button right away, and button reset needs to be named. And I think everything else is named. We should have our scissors, button paper, all that stuff is there. Our labels are here, button tie, yeah, all this kind of stuff. This is button computer pick and user pick. So we're in good shape here. So let's double click on that exit button. And the first thing we'll do is put in a comment that says close form. And it'll be this.close close with stuff behind it, and it's set to go. So that's done. We'll do a file save all, and we've got that in place. Now, the next thing I want to do is we want to figure out what I actually want to code next. And to do that, we'll take a look at our hierarchy chart. And what it shows is we just did the exit button, so we can kind of close that thing off. We got that thing done. We could probably do the reset button first and get these things out of the way, and then we can concentrate on this, on our methods that are down below here. These are our buttons again, and all these are buttons actually. And we'll code those first, but everything else underneath here is a method of some kind. We'll be passing information to it or getting it to do something. So what we'll do next is we'll go ahead and we'll double click on the reset button. And up comes the code for the button reset. What do we want to do here? Well, the reset button is going to flip these buttons around. Remember, we want to take the rock, paper, scissors button and unenable them or enable them depending on if we're going to play the game or not. As far as the reset goes, we want to get ready for a new game, so we want to enable the three buttons that are rock, paper, scissors and disable the reset button so we can't press that until we've actually played the game again. So we'll go in here, we'll just say ready for a new game. And the first thing we'll do is we'll say flip buttons. We'll call it routine. And this is going to flip the buttons. And if you remember, you can see our button exit is done here. We're doing the reset button, and the flip buttons routine is one of the routines we're going to be using inside the reset button. We'll also use that button for rock, paper, and scissors. So it makes sense to make this a method and make it do its thing. We have an error right now, and that's normal because we haven't actually created that button, that method, so it doesn't exist. So flip buttons is the routine we're going to be creating later. The other thing we want to do is we want to take the you win label, a tie, and the computer wins button, and make them invisible. So we'll do LBL be you win dot visible is equal to false, and we'll say LBL tie dot visible is equal to false, and LBL computer wins dot visible is equal to false. We'll also want to take the two text boxes that will be displaying the user pick and the computer pick and blank those things out. So we'll say LBL computer pick dot text is equal to quote quote. That clears selection box, selection label. LBL user picks, user pick dot text is also equal to quote quote. That clears that off. So that finishes off our reset button. So we're all set to do that thing. But now what we want to do is we actually would like to code the flip button so we don't have that error anymore. So we'll go down here and we'll click on the flip. We'll create a flip button routine. We do that by simply saying private void flip buttons. Spelling it the same way as we spelled it up when we called it. You put the parentheses around it. We won't be passing any parameters here, but we still put those parentheses around it for parameter passing, and we set up its block of code by using braces. Inside those braces, we then do what the flip buttons routine is going to do, and it's going to enable or disable buttons. How do we do that? We say button rock dot enabled is equal to not button rock btn enabled, and we do the same thing button paper dot enable equal button paper enabled not, and btn scissors enabled equals not button scissors enabled. That's all we have to do. We also want to take the reset button itself and btn reset enabled not button reset btn reset dot enabled equal not button reset enabled. So that actually disables the reset button and has that thing do that kind of. Either they're going to be, but basically the reset button will be enabled when the rock buttons aren't. When the rock scissors button are enabled, the reset button will be disabled. So this causes that to happen. Now we should have no error up here. We do have an error up here. Why? FLIPBUTTA1S flip button. Okay, we spelled it wrong. We need to put that S in here, and that gets rid of it. Now the error is gone. So we're all set to go there. So that takes us to this place. We've actually got the flip buttons routines all coded, and we're going to be using them in all different cases for the rock, paper, scissors, and reset button. So they're all there and they're in place now. We now can go ahead and code the rock, paper, and scissors button to get these things started. Well, actually, reset's done too, so we can. Well, it's not completely done, but it almost is done. And notice I'm using this hierarchy chart. It's kind of a checklist to follow it through. I may not know how these things are actually coded. I may want to flowchart these if they get complicated, but for fairly straightforward, this may be enough to allow me to actually, okay, we're going to play a game, we're going to do computer selection. How am I actually going to do this? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to code the rock button. So we'll jump out to rock in our designer, and we'll double click on it. All we're going to do here is we're going to, again, type in user selects rock. What do? We flip buttons. Because we're done with those buttons, we don't want to deal with them anymore. Just go ahead and close this. So that's done. So that worked out just fine. And we're also going to say play game. And we're going to pass it rock, the user selection. Why do we do that? And we have an error, of course. We should have an error. Why do we do that? We do that because basically the next thing we want to do is play a game, which is going to be what happens next. And let's go down to our computer selection here. So all three buttons will be playing the game. And we don't know what that playing game consists of, but it'll consist of these things down here. So let's go in and do the same thing for paper and scissors. Double click on paper. We can literally just copy this, place it in here, and put down paper, and put in the word paper, because that's what we're going to be passing to play a game. Go back in, click on scissors, do the same thing here. User selects scissors. And we're going to pass it scissors. So all three of those pieces are now done and set to go. So all we need to do now is play the game. So where are we at this point in time? We're looking, we've got all of these things completed, and play game has been done because we're actually called play game. What play game we're going to do? It's going to do a computer selection and determine the winner. So how does that all happen? Let's take a look. Play game is the next thing we want to do. We can't go to it from here because we're done coding our reset button, our exit button, all our buttons. So what we're doing now is we're actually going to be coding methods that are standalone, basically, and they're called by other methods. So we jump in here, and right down below here, we can actually code the play game method. So we'll do private. And notice how self-documenting this is. Button, scissors, play game, flip buttons. Void, because we're not going to be passing anything back. And we'll say play game. We're going to send it a string called str user selection. So I'm creating a variable right here, and I'm also going to, so we're actually calling it, we're actually going to put in the braces for it to create what is going to happen. And notice our errors went away in the play game up here because we've got a routine now. And we're actually creating a variable called str user selection. That's going to grab the word, the paper or the rock or whatever, or the scissors, whatever the user selected over here, and put it into here, passing that value down to play game, so play game can actually use it. What's play game going to do? Well, it's going to set up a string called str computer pick. And it's going to set that equal to quote quote, because there's nothing in it. And we're going to say down here, got an equal sign here, don't I? Need an equals. Okay, it's going to say over here, we'll put a comment in here. This is going to computer pick variable. So like the user pick, we're going to store rock, paper, or scissors in here that the computer selects, and we'll actually go and have a method actually do that for us. So how are we going to do this thing? Well, we're going to go ahead and call, I'm going to do a computer selection here, computer selection, and I'm going to pass by reference str computer pick. I want to call computer pick. That's going to be a method that we're actually going to use. What does it look like? It's right down here. So we did our computer selection. We already got rock, paper, and scissors being called down here. So this is going to do our computer selection. Once we have that in place, then we'll be able to actually determine a winner because we'll have selections from both the user and the computer. So we've got a computer selection routine here. So after we do a computer selection, we actually want to do the determine winner, which is going to pass str user pick, user selection, and it's also going to pass str computer pick, which are the two methods that, which are the two variables that we selected with the user and the computer. So this is called determine winner. And again, now I have two routines I'm going to have to create, or two methods I'm going to need to create that have errors right now because they don't exist. So that's our next step, is to go ahead and program the computer selection piece. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do a save real quickly. Let's see if everything works right now. Or if anything works right now to see where we are. It's always kind of a good idea. We're going to have errors here, so we're probably going to, yeah, because we don't have this in place, we're going to have errors. If we try to start it, we'll say there are build errors. We'll say no, and it'll list those for us if we look at the error listing. And it actually is doing that. The name computer selection does not exist in the current context. The name determined winner does not exist in the current context. On line 69 and 70. That's okay. That's okay. We know exactly where this is. So we'll go ahead and we'll close this off. And now we'll go ahead and we'll create the computer selection routine. So right down here we'll say private, void, computer selection, and this will be by reference. It's going to get a reference variable, string, str selection. We can call this thing anything we want. It's what this routine is going to use as the variable while it gets that particular selection. We can then go down here and go ahead and create our braces for it. We now have our braces. Notice the computer selection error is now gone, and we have a hole here where we can actually do the computer selection. How do we do that? Well, let me generate computer pick, which is going to be a 0, a 1, or a 2. And how we do that? We use the random number generator. Random computer pick is equal to new random. We set up a variable int selection, which is going to holds computer generated number. And then we're going to say int selection is equal to computer pick dot next. We're going to put a 3 in here. This actually makes the computer pick. And now the computer has either selected a 0, 1, or 2, or a 0, 1, or a 2. What do we need to do that? We need to convert that to a rock, a paper, or a scissors. And we can do that using a switch statement. So we'll go down here and we'll say switch in selection and we'll say we want the braces. So there's our selection. In case 0, if that's the case 0, we want str selection to be equal to rock. And we'll break on that. Case 1 is going to be str selection is equal to paper. Break on that. And the default, or I could say case 3, but we'll say default, because anything else, it won't have anything else. And we can say that is going to be str selection is going to be equal to scissors. We could have used if statements here. You gotta make sure you spell these things correctly now so we match when we actually do our determine winner here. So I want to get that in place properly, and we break on this. And we're done. So that fills in the selection right now. So our computer selection is done. We've been able to get the computer to do what it needs to do, and it all has rock, paper, scissors. User has rock, paper, scissors. User has rock, paper, scissors. Where are we? Well, basically, we're sitting right here. The computer selection has been done. We now are going to determine the winner and figure what it's going to be. So let's go ahead and do that. We need to create the determine winner routine. And that'll get rid of this error we have right up here. So we're going to go ahead and say, right underneath here, private void determine winner. And we're going to get two variables, string string str user and str string str computer. And we're going to set up the braces for it. And what this has done, it's created two variables that are going to be passed when what this is actually called. And you notice when it is called, the str user selection is going to go here. The str computer pick is going to go into here. So this routine will actually have the values rock, paper, scissors from both the user and the computer, and we'll be able to create this. I'm going to save this right now. This won't run, but it won't give us any errors now. So we can actually go ahead and test this and see where we are, what we're looking like. And we bring it up, it actually does show something here. And we can actually click on this, and it does reset this button here. The reset button is, well, that's been coded too. Okay, so this is good. When this goes dim on us, reset brings it back. So that's all working nicely. Nothing else is showing here. We're not showing any user picks. That's all going to happen when we do our determine winner. And exit works just fine too. So now we're ready to actually create this determine winner routine. How do we do that? What we need to do is we need to go ahead and display pick on the form. And we do that by saying LBL computer pick dot text is equal to str computer. And LBL user pick is equal to str user. And then we can go ahead and compare selection. But before we do that, let's save it one more time. And let's see if it actually shows those particular labels. Comes up again. We're going to hit rock. And indeed, rock, the computer picked paper, and we picked rock as a user. I can reset this. I can hit paper now for the user pick. Comes up paper, and paper, computer pick paper. So we reset there. Scissors, so it comes up, and paper is picked by the computer again. Computer seems to like to pick out paper. Rock, he picks up rock. Okay, so that's working fine. All we need to do now is just determine who the winner is. So we do that with this comparing the computer selection at this point in time. Now all we need to do is say, this is our rules that we did in our analysis before, if str computer is set equal to str user, in other words, they're both equal. Basically, it's a tie. We call it tie game routine, and kill it right there. So we now have another error, but we have an error because we have a tie game method that's been chosen here. We now can look at the rule parts with rock, cover, scissors, rock, break, scissors, whatever. We do that here right now. So we're going to say if str user is set equal to rock and str computer is set equal to scissors, we end up calling user wins. And we have another method we're going to have to create. Not wines, wins. That looks good. Now, all we need to do is take this and do two more of these. So we'll do a copy paste. And we'll change this to paper. All right, we'll change this to scissors first. And we'll change the computer selection to paper. We'll change the user pick down here to paper. And the computer selection to rock. And user wins in all three of those cases. We now can actually copy these three things right here and bring them down here and reverse the order of what we want here. If we want to make this computer, we'll grab this, lay it right in here, and lay this right in here. And this part will become user. And we copy that and lay it right into computer. And of course, these are computer wins. So we'll take the word computer and slap it right over user. Just saving us some time. So we've got a number of errors here because we don't have these routines built, but we're all set. We've actually completed the determine winner routine. So it's all set. So now what we have to do is take a look at our hierarchy chart. And we've got all these things completed. We just seem to, I think we actually did this, clear labels. When I think about it now, I think we did this up in the user reset section. So we just need to create a tie game routine, a computer wins routine, and a user wins routine, which will be very straightforward and simple. It's going to do a couple of label processing things here. So let's go ahead and look at that. We go down here and we create the tie game routine. So private, void, tie game, and give it the braces. And all we're going to do here is display tie. And that'll be doing that by LBL tie dot visible is equal to true. LBL, if I could spell right, I'd be in great shape here. LBL computer wins dot visible is equal to false. And LBL user wins, or you win, that's what we called it, dot visible is equal to false. That completes the tie game routine. The user wins routine will be very similar. We'll just pop down here and say private, void, private. User wins. Get the braces up there. We can use these same things right here. Lay it right in here and display user wins. The tie is going to become false. The user wins will become true. And we do the same thing. Notice we only have the computer wins is the only error we have left in this thing. We'll go down here and we'll hit private. I got the spell right. Yes, I do. Void. Computer wins. Braces. All our errors are gone. We simply need to pack this stuff in here. We'll use the first one. And we'll slap that in here and we'll say display computer wins. The tie is false again. And the computer wins is true. And that should be all we need. File, save all. Let's check our hierarchy chart. These pieces are all done. Do we need to flip the buttons at this point in time? Reset's going to do that for us, I believe. So I don't think we need to. This may be, that's the thing with the hierarchy charts too. You build them, but they aren't necessarily absolutely correct. They're a guideline for you. And as you program, you might see where, yeah, maybe I didn't need that piece, or maybe I do need this piece, or I'm missing this piece. And you can add it, and it's a working document. It's not going to be the program itself. It's a working document to help you create a good program that actually will function. Let's try this thing. File, save all. Let's go ahead and do a start. Okay, there's our game. We'll pick rock. We won. Rock crushes scissors. Cool. Reset it. We'll pick paper. User wins again because paper covers rock. Cool. We're just good at this. Scissors. Computer won that time. It picked a rock. We picked the scissors. It crushed our scissors. Hit it again. Paper. Computer wins again. Scissors cuts paper. So that's all there is to the game. You want to see how this thing works when we actually do select something. You know, if we go ahead and do a, we could take a look. We can let our selections go here. I think if you look at our hierarchy chart again, we could set a breakpoint at the play game routine, so we can follow what's coming through and take a look at it. So we'll do that. We'll go ahead and set that thing up. I'll go ahead with my breakpoint at the play game piece, which is right here, and we'll put it right in here. So there's our breakpoint. We'll start our game. It's ready to go. We'll pick rock, and play game stops, and we end up sitting right there. So let's put up a watch on this thing. I'd like to see what the heck the computer selection is. So if we go up here and look at the pieces that the user could have actually selected, we're passing variables, the actual data here, so we're not doing anything special there. So we can take a look at our string selection and see what this is going to be by adding a watch to it. We have a string selection up here. I'll bring my watch page down so we can see it. And there's nothing there because it's in a different routine. We'll also pick up the str computer pick and the str user pick. Put those in there. Notice we have a user selection of rock already being picked, so we do have that piece. I don't think we have anything else we need to do. This in selection, computer pick selection is right here. So let's go ahead and do we'll go F11 to go through this thing. So it's going to jump down to the computer selection routine. So it does that. And when it does that, it goes down here and it generates a computer pick or random number. We can take a look at the in selection and see what it actually brings in. So we'll go ahead and add a watch to the in selection piece. It's got a 0 in there now. We'll do it. The computer is picked, and it picked a 0. So it's going to go ahead and pick rock and send rock up here. Rock got placed in the str selection. It breaks out of there, comes out, and it goes down to the comes out of the computer and goes down to the determine winner. So we're going to pass str selection, user selection right here, and we're going to pass str computer pick right here, which is rock and rock, and pass it down. So it goes down here to this routine here, and obviously rock and rock. We're going to end up with a tie. We can kind of predict this thing. We got str computer, highlight over it, str user, highlight over it, it's rock. If we go down here, it'll display those things for us. It'll find it's going to do the tie game routine, jumps to the tie game routine, and turns on the visible property of the label, turns off the computer wins property, which is already off, and the you win property turns that off, and comes out and ends the tie game piece, goes through these. It doesn't have to do any of these things because it's done, and bounces out to the determine winner, gets out of there, gets the play game piece, it comes out and ends where it has to be, and finally we get to display. So rock is showing up here, rock is right here, we have our tie. So you can use the debugger to follow the logic through and see how your variables are moving through the methods when you create these things. Because sometimes it can be kind of confusing as to, is this thing working right or not? And when you don't know, or you get some kind of different answers, you want to check on that. But that's all it does, all it is to take care of this kind of thing. So methods are kind of handy. They really work kind of well. So let's exit this, and we'll, that's our game. We got rock, paper, and scissors, done. Well, if you follow this approach, it should help you understand how different methods work. I would recommend that you code this game and then use the debugger to examine just how it flows. That will give you experience with methods, and you'll gain more experience using the debugger. Remember, one thing you can count on in programming is that something will go wrong. It always does. Having a good command of the debugger will help you eliminate those problems when they do occur. Well, you can expect to see another video in just a few days. I'm planning on adding something to the tools, techniques, and fixes real soon. I also plan to set up a section on arrays and lists. So do come back soon. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Oh, and don't forget to use the website for easy access to all my videos. If you get a chance, please subscribe. That way you'll be notified when something new is available. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.